In Bugonia, two conspiracy-obsessed men take on the task of kidnapping a high-powered CEO of a tech company that all leads on to thinking she's an alien. Hello and welcome to Cinema, where we focus on a film. I'm Josh, this is Simply Cinema. Let me know down in the comments below what you thought of Bugonia. Was it good? Was it bad? Or somewhere right in the middle? Or if you're waiting for this review and now going to decide if you're going to see it or not, and taking it right in positive. Bugonia is a fascinating exploration that's deep within the levels it's falling about. If you're watching on the passive level, it is well directed by Yorgos Lanthimos and falling about some great performances of what we get out of Emma Stone, Jesse Plemons, and the debut of Aiden Plemons. And what we're falling about with these characters goes into the idea of what we're tracking with whether this one girl, played by Emma Stone, is really the CEO and whether she is part of an alien, as the conspiracy theorists are trying to figure out, trying to push her into confessing. There's things that will ultimately manipulate and make you question yourself, what's true, what's not. Is she really who she says that she is, and is these guys really onto something with that? Going about along the lines of that, there is a lot deeper in that is all about how trauma can push us to dig deeper, try and convince ourselves that what we're doing is right. And that's what we see from these conspiracy theorists. Is one particular guy that was affected by something that's going on with his mother, and there's so much that goes deeper within the flashbacks that come here and there throughout the film. Even though it's chronological, there's occasional parts of the film that flashes back, feeds us new information, makes us rethink what we've seen before, and it just feeds us with so much to dig our teeth into until the final reveal at the end that is ultimately an interesting revelation for the direction this film is leading onto. But what we're building from the ground up is something that's so compelling by how we're dissecting these characters, how we're making them more personality filled. And while there isn't necessarily a lot to their personal lives we know about, we do see the visible things that the CEO is a good fighter, and that shows when she comes into play trying to fight off her kidnappers, that she has that agility, that these kidnappers are also people that are training in order to succeed in one particular part of their plan that you'll find out within the film. And just going along the lines of that, there's just a naturalistic view of this film. It's a great drama, but also a great dark comedy that pulls off jokes along the way, things about death, things about what we're doing, but it's not too on the nose that it feels offensive or undercutting the tension. It's something that feels so lively within the nature. But with Yorgos Lanthimos, if you haven't watched any of his films anymore, then this is something where he's very grounded, but the filmmaking is very enhanced within what we're doing, very naturalistic, down to earth, but he knows how to portray a lot of the emotions, from looking down on characters, having wide shots, making the room look big when you need it to, or making things feel tight if you want to feel the tension. And so there's a close eye to how this director knows how to handle things, and directing both Emma Stone and Jesse Plemons, especially as two top tier actors of their own worth, have been really handling the project well and just really build on the inciting incidents. Even though it's relatively simple within what their acting brings, there can be great arguing moments here and there, and things that are convincing, things that make me question what all the truth is, what all are the conspiracies, and things we uncover along the way, things we think are being molded to manipulate us to believe one thing, can still end up being something else. And so that's just ultimately the fun revelation about this film, is where the film ultimately ends up. Which takes me right into mixed elements. Ultimately, it's hard to say what sort of film this film is for or directed to, because it is a little bit of a dark comedy, but not so much that it's joke after joke every time. It's very subtle and naturalistic, so it is definitely for the fans of Yorgos Lanthimos. If you haven't watched this film before, then it is balanced within its trauma, within some sci-fi elements, but with also some things that will engage within the psychological mystery that it is without being too shocking in one sense. There's shocking scenes here and there, but what will ultimately change the game of you enjoying this film or not is kind of toward the ending. Is it goes in a particular direction that I won't spoil because it is the main plot that is headed toward that will reveal the mystery. And some people won't like where it's headed, some people will, but because there's a thrilling path throughout, if you're a passive viewer, then you won't necessarily get as much of the character study. But if you dig a little deeper, have a conversation, or reflect on it yourself, there is something more to be had with this. So it's just something of a general gist that I want you to be aware of. If whether you're going in for something super thrilling, it kind of is at a slower pace, but not necessarily a slow burn if you were worried about that either. So taking it into the negative, ultimately there's some potential that while I like the ending as it was, there's a flip side to that where I kind of would have liked it as the other thing, but doing at the same time, I can't completely complain because I enjoy the kind of bold direction they took. Though there's certain characteristics and things you may want to explore that may make a better balance. I may have to rewatch this to pick up on the clues now that I know the reveal, and I feel this is a more rewatchable film. It's not one of those mysteries where once you know the answer, you'll not necessarily have any of the enjoyment from it. This is something you could gain a lot more, but there is some details here and there where it may slow down the plot of the story, things with what we're following about. Surprisingly, the flashbacks weren't too distracting, but it could affect some, and following about with the force manipulation, we're adding in certain characters that can feel a little bit too much or could have been added a little bit more naturally. So it's just a sort of mixed bag in certain areas, but nothing that's a too big of effect on me that removes me completely from the film and completely bores me. So that's just my personal thoughts on Bugonia, which I have to rate a simply 8 out of 10. Let me know down in the comments below what you thought of Bugonia. Was it good? Was it bad? Or somewhere right in the middle? Or if you're waiting for this review and now going to see this film or not, based on my review and recommendation, make sure to like this video if you enjoy it, subscribe if you haven't already to join in the film culture community where we talk about the love of cinema as a whole. So that's just all, and make sure to do yourself a favor and go watch a movie.